You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, we are back for episode 71. 7-1, people. I can't believe that we're here already. 71 episodes of MinneZona Sports Live. And we've got more to come. And, obviously, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And, as always, all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Volt, Shield. What's going on, Shield?
It is Wednesday. I'm looking forward to another great show. I don't know what it is about today. It's been a long day, and it's also been a long week, but yet it's only Wednesday. Looking forward to at least having some sort of peace of mind about tonight, and hopefully we have a good show as well. So we'll see what happens.
We really do, because we got, obviously, Tater Tot Hot Take. But we have a new segment. Where are they now? We debuted it. We debut it tonight. We want the zoners to chime in on this, too, because you give us some names like, hey, where's so-and-so? Like, whatever happened to that person? Whatever that... You give it to us, and we'll get it going. But I got a guy in mind. Voldy's got a guy in mind as well, so... It's going to be fun with that new segment. Then, obviously, ARA, Shield shoutouts per usual. So we'll be busy with that. But we've got a lot going on tonight. So without further ado, Voldy, we got to get to some Tater Tot Hot Take. It's fresh out of the oven, and, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is fresh out of the oven. It is ready to go. We're starting off with the pups tonight, just because there were some things that were said by GM Garrison or Timberwolves president, I should say. Garrison Rosas, and he's banking on wheeling and dealing. I think a lot of guys are pretty happy about that. Not only do you have Cole Munson, Will Rattel, and also the zoners. There's plenty of Timberwolves fans, that watch MinneZona as well, and like to hear a lot of that right now. But if his comments, I think this is something where they need to address, like we said before, defensively, Voldy. Getting, obviously you can't have enough shooters, right? And I think they're going to look into this offseason. We're going to see a lot of deals. And I think there's going to be a veteran presence with this team, with this club coming up here in the offseason. But I'll believe it when I see it, and it's still the Wolves. But, Voldy, what are your thoughts on Rosas' comments about this offseason?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because of the fact that the Timberwolves don't have a draft pick in the draft coming up here in the near future. But also at the same time, the Timberwolves are also hosting draft combine, activities and events too, which is also interesting because maybe the fact that the Timberwolves maybe send a couple of players, maybe wheel and deal a couple of draft picks to maybe end up with a pick in the draft as well, with getting a peek at some of the guys that are going to be coming up in the draft here very, very soon. I think it's, a breath of fresh air, especially with, Rosas just coming out and saying, hey, look, we're going out here. We're going to try and make some moves and, maybe sign some guys, move some guys as well, because it's always the same sentiment with any general manager for a Minnesota pro sports team. We're identifying the concerns that we have going into the offseason. We're looking at all available options. But right now, what Rosas says is like, look, come tomorrow, the whole team could be gone. We're going to make the moves that we think are right for the franchise and for the team. And you know what? We've need to do something, and might as well go ahead and do it this year as well.
Well, I think the one route that they're going is they're looking for trades. Because, I was looking at some of the free agents before the show that they're possibly available. And there's really not any big noteworthy guys. There's some good role players, sure, but I think this would make more sense if they went the trade route, and I think they can. Now, we talked about this with Cole Munson, Ben Simmons, okay? It seems like it's been reported that the Wolves want him really, really, really bad.
Interesting.
The question is how much are they going to be willing to give up to get one Ben Simmons? Now, obviously, I have my own opinion on Ben Simmons because I think Ben Simmons is a good player. I think he's a great defensive player. I think he can get the ball get the ball down the lane and drive through and make an easy layup or slam it down. But the shooting concerns me. The guy can't shoot a three, can't hit a jump shot, right? But it's not like I'm saying they won't be able to work with him on it, and I think they will be able to. The big thing is how are you going to develop him? Can you at least improve some of his shooting? Now remember, there's another guy who struggles with shooting too, and his name is Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
And at some points, I think he was a good leader. Obviously, he's kind of in his twilight years, as we like to call it here too, but the big thing is that's what they need. You can put up 140 points, but you can't give up 150, right? This is something to where they need to address this specific, just their defense in general. So I wouldn't be against them going after Simmons, but how much is that going to cost them is the big question. Now, they can do a lot. They can trade. Maybe there are some guys that that are willing to trade. Malik Beasley. The question is, can the guy stay on the court? Can he at least not get into trouble? Things like that. But the Wolves could actually make a good move here if they trade Beasley. Now, when Beasley was playing, he was fantastic. I thought he was great. But there's also that one thing to say, well, is he going to behave? So that's kind of something that we got to keep in mind, too. Now, not to say that Ricky Rubio would be, but he might be. If you need a veteran presence on another team, or if you want to get some picks, I don't know. That's up to Rosas, but Voldy, I can't see them trading Cat. You would have to really get someone good in return if you're going to trade one D'Lo.
Yeah.
But if I were to pick out, Edwards isn't going to get traded. There's no way in
Lord,
hell.
I hope not.
If they do that, it would be the most absurd thing ever if the Wolves did something like that. But it wouldn't surprise me. So Voldy, wouldn't you think that D'Lo would probably be the guy if they wanted to let's just say Ben Simmons, for goodness sake.
Right.
You swap D'Lo, Ben Simmons. I know Cole brought this up too, but out of the two, Cat and D'Lo, I'd probably say D'Lo. Wouldn't you say so as well?
Yeah, I know that we talked about this with Munson a couple weeks back, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the guy that's, if you are going to go out and get a Ben Simmons, you're going to have to throw in a couple extra players besides the likes of D'Lo too. I don't know who else you would probably throw in there to sweeten the deal, but I mean, it's certainly a 1-for-1 situation with the likes of Ben Simmons for D'Lo right off the top. I mean, it certainly could be, add a couple of players there, and hopefully the reverse of the KG, the KG Richard Jefferson trade or what have you back in, or Al Jefferson, I should say. Yeah, it was Al Jefferson, wasn't it?
Yep, you got
those dark times for the Timberwolves there before we got K-Love there too. But I mean, that's certainly the way it's going to have to be. I think D'Lo's the one that's on the chopping block.
And it's going to have to be a really good deal. And also, not only if you are going to trade D'Lo, you better tell his buddy, Cat, because if you do something like that without Cat's permission, oh boy, we're in for it now. I mean, then obviously, guess what? They're rebuilding again, so there's that. But just kind of getting back to the comments, I think this is something you want to hear from a GM. You want them to be like, okay, we've already discussed with other teams. We're willing to go the extra mile to add some more depth to this team because they do need it. I mean, they're 23 and 49, I think, if my page is correct. I mean, it's something to where they need to understand. We need to get better now. We have D'Lo, we have Ant, we have Cat. We need to add more pieces, veteran pieces. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's get to some zoners. Met says a cardboard cutout would be a better defender than half the team. Well,
dang.
He's not wrong. I mean,
he's definitely not wrong. No, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's... and then Easy AS, is there a salary cap in the NBA? There is, but the thing is, in the NBA, you can work around so many things. You can work around money, things like that, and I don't know how some of these GMs do it, to be honest with you, Voldy, but...
Especially them Supermax contracts, like what the hell's that all about?
Right, just ask, I think KD, LeBron, all those guys. I mean, it's crazy.
Yep.
But anyway, we'll see. We'll see. I think Rosas, you talk the talk. Time to walk the walk now. Let's see what happens for the Wolves. All right, Voldy, let's move on to our next Tater Tot hot take. I saw this while I was doing some research for this week, and, there's... I feel like this is the time of year where there's a lot of optimism because you look at what the Purple did last year, and... obviously we're talking Vikings, but, there's always, I feel like there's a couple of writers that always kind of say they're underrated. This could be the year. This could be the year that they break out. They could get back to the NFC champion. They, go maybe even beyond that. There's a lot of guys that have been saying that. I mean, Cody Benjamin is one of them. Adam Shine is one of them as well. And even winning the NFC North, depending, obviously with the whole situation. But, Voldy, just because we're getting closer to training camp and things like that, I thought this was a good thing to bring up because every year we talk about, like I said, we talk about like, there's giddy optimism and everything like that. But I'll ask the question because, I mean, everyone else is thinking it. I mean, do you agree with the sneaky contenders comment that Mr. Cody Benjamin made? What do you think?
I do agree with the comment as well because you look at where the Vikings were last year compared to what could be this year. There are a lot of positives on this side compared to where last year. Last year, injuries, youth, inexperience, all of that, inconsistencies on the defensive side. That's what hurt the Vikings overall. Bright spots, Justin Jefferson. A little bit of angst on the offense as well. Kirk was dealing at times as well. And overall, you look at it, they finished off the year not where they wanted to. I mean, not the greatest record in the world to work with. But, then you look at where things have gone this offseason for the Vikings thus far. I mean, they get back guys that decide to sit out last year, obviously with the likes of, what's the guy's name? That dingus that decided to sit out. Pierce. Pierce decided to sit out last year. Don't blame him for that as well. But then you throw in guys like, Patrick Peterson, free agent signing, Dalvin Tomlinson, former Viking Sheldon Richardson, Bashad Breeland. You get, Xavier Woods, who played in Dallas, Mackenzie Alexander, friend of the brand, and also Stephen Weatherly, who's back, and Nick Vigil as well. Those guys all right there. I mean, those are some great signings. Then you get Pierce back into the fold too, and all of those guys, defensive guys.
Yep.
You look at the offense, pretty much untouched from this past year, except for the departure of Kyle Rudolph. But waiting in the wings right there, you've got the likes of Irv Smith Jr. and you also throw in Ty Conklin still with the team. I think Conklin.
Yeah.
You got a couple of tight ends right there to work with. Justin Jefferson. You've got Adam Thielen, running game with Dalvin. And you also got Madison as well. Kirk's still there. And Kirk's got a little added bump in his step now because, you know what, things start going sideways. They got this rookie guy, Kellen Mond, that could make a little bit of some noise as well with the team. The sneaky contender route is definitely where I want to put this team right now because obviously you don't want to put too much into it, especially after what happened last year. But going into this year, if things kind of line up the right way, there's a few question marks with each team here in the division for the NFC North. I think sneaky contenders is the right term to use for this Viking squad.
I agree. And for the zoners that are tuning in right now, we're talking about the Vikings. There's some writers that are saying that they're underrated, sneaky contenders, as you can see in the lower third. It's tough for me because we all know what Matty C's gonna say. He's gonna be very positive about they are sneaky contenders. Well, look at the roster. Voldy, you already even talked about it. I mean, the defensive side, the depth at corner, the depth at defensive tackle. Hell, I mean, the depth at O-line, too, is actually not too shabby if you really look at it as well. It's the performance and how it's all going to come together. Now, let's not forget that there's a couple of things I want to bring up. And I'm not bringing this down and saying, look, this is something, we need to, address right away and everything. This could be a weakness. Is there a kicker that we have? The Titans guy, I think is Joseph or something like that. I mean, have we even addressed kickers? I mean, I think maybe later on, maybe get some competition, but apparently the guy that they got there were teams wanting to sign this Joseph guy, I believe. But correct me if I'm wrong, but that's something that could come back to bite us if we're not careful. And not to say that they're thinking, well, okay, we're going to stick with this guy and see how it goes. But, Dan Bailey, there's some games where we could have easily won those games. So that's something that we all have to understand. Are we going to stick with the guy that's currently on the roster right now? I don't know. Another thing, too, and this is the second thing. Obviously, Gary Kubiak did a great job with the offense.
Right.
He retires. His son comes in. Okay? And obviously, I think it's going to be a lot of similar style offense, but I feel like he'll throw in a couple wrinkles. I mean, I think you have to. You can't be doing the same thing. But, again, the main thing, you feed Dalvin, you let him cook. Let Dalvin cook, as I've said before. And then, obviously, you got the two guys on the outside, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Irv Smith Jr., Ty Conklin, I think, is a sleeper guy that I think could break out, too, with Rudy being gone. He's a good blocking tight end as well. But if you look at this roster, you have to understand that this is a roster that is revamped. If you compare what you saw late in the season with that defense that we had, that was pretty much a JV defense, to be honest with you. Alvin Kamara running 6 touchdowns, just stomping over the Vikings defense. Now you have not only 2 big guys, but 3 big guys in the middle. You got Pierce, you got Tomlinson, you got Sheldon Richardson. Watch out. No one's scoring 6 touchdowns on the Vikings in one game. Okay, this is not going to happen this year. I'll bet someone on that. But those are the 2 things I think we need to remind ourselves is, okay, the kicking situation, where are we at with it? And then is Clint Kubiak going to, have the same magic that his dad had? Maybe even better. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
But let's get to the zoners here. Easy A says, I guess I could say if we are sneaky contenders, but if our O-line can do good, then we got it. Well,
yep.
It's O-line, as the Kerf Doctor likes to say. So it's got to protect Kirk, right? Our defense will be a beast. I think so. I mean, Zim knows what he's doing. I think it's going to be much improved. And then he says, I agree, special teams kicker is a must. I think that's for all teams too. But anyway, there's an interesting tidbit of information, though, Voldy. This is a weird stat, but I want to bring this up to you, and I thought this was kind of cool. In even number years, under Mike Zimmer, the Vikings are less than 500 ball club, okay?
Okay.
A record of 30, 33, and 1. That's a percentage of 47%. Okay? So that was in 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2020. Odd-numbered years, and zoners listening to this as well, 34 and 14. Percentage, 70% win-loss record. That's damn good. So, hey, 2021, it's an odd-numbered year. Here we go. Obviously, fingers crossed. But it's weird to look at that stat. But, I mean, it's interesting to me because I feel like, in even years, we've had kind of a, so-so season. But I don't know. That's
right.
That's just my thoughts. But, the whole Daniil thing is pretty much taken care of. I think we can all, rest easy with that. But let's leave it with this, Voldy. There's really no one that they're, really waiting on to, is so-and-so going to come to training camp? So-and-so going to come to training camp? But one name I think we haven't brought up yet. And we got to see how the situation. I'm sure the Vikings have, been keeping track of the situation too. But Jeff Gladney, I mean, what's the status of that? I mean, is he coming back? Are they going to release him? I mean, I don't know at this point. I mean, Voldy, do you think he'll come and be at training camp, or are they just going to say adios? I don't know. What do you think?
Right. I honestly don't even know which direction to go. I could see it going either way, but if he does come to training camp, it's probably not going to be for very long. I could definitely see him either being let go or just told, hey, don't come to training camp because of the fact that the off-the-field situation, it's very similar to what's going on right now, especially with Trevor Bauer and the Dodgers right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a whole lot going on in the world, and you screw up something like that, there's going to be repercussions. I could definitely see him not coming to training camp, though.
I think with all the depth that they have, it's telling me I think that they're going to let him go. Now, if it comes out to say this isn't true or whatever happens, then I could see him come back, and then all of a sudden we have all these corners. What are we going to do with all these corners? But at the same time, I mean, if the proof is in the pudding, it's probably the best thing. Get rid of him. So we'll see what happens. I mean, that's one situation to think about as well as we're going on and getting closer to training camp. So football's on the horizon, Voldy. So we're hoping that it'll be another fun season. But Voldy, it's time. It's time to get going. Our new segment. Where are they now? This is how it's going to kind of work. I mean, it's going to be I have a guy that we haven't we haven't thought about in a while, right? Or a guy that, that was back and, when you were a kid and, what are they up to now? What are they doing? What they contributed when they were, with a certain team or whatever. And we want you, the zoners, to chime in with some of your guys as well and then give us your thoughts on the guys that we picked too. So there's plenty of guys that you can pick. There's plenty of guys that that deserve to be picked, and I think this segment is perfect for this. So anyway, let's get it going with where are they now?
Check your milk carton. It's time for Where Are They Now?
All right, Voldy, it is time for Where Are They Now? Now, we encourage the zoners to give us maybe even suggestions, what they think, and then throw it our way. But Voldy, I'm going to start with you tonight. You tonight, and we're going to kind of keep it more Minnesota-based, and then, in the future, towards the future, we'll branch have guys, and we'll branch out and do some other guys that we know and love. So, Voldy, who is your Where Are They Now this week?
Well, there's always one guy that always comes to mind when we talk about stuff like this. We talk about past Minnesota players, past players as well, and it usually comes down to two things. A, the name of the person, and B, what kind of impact do they have in their short amount of time. One guy that always comes to mind when I'm talking about stuff like this, it's former Minnesota Wild player, that being Guillaume Latendresse. He was with Minnesota for parts of now, we'll say 3+ years. As you can quite see right there, definitely loved hockey within itself. Guillaume Latendresse came over from the likes of the Montreal Canadiens, entering his age 22 season. After 23 games, he was sent over to the Wild. And, well, in that time, boy, did he light up the stat sheet. 55 games. This is 2009, 2010, so we're well over a decade now. Yeah. 2009, 2010, that season, 25 goals, 12 assists, 37 points in 55 games, and contributed in multiple ways, especially on the power play. He was a force to be reckoned with. He had a career high 16, averaging 16 minutes per game on ice as well. And that was just and that was basically, over half a season with the Minnesota Wild. After that, never really saw the same production. A lot of injuries and a lot of just inconsistency. He came over the Wild when he was 22. By that point, it was already his 5th NHL season. I mean, he played his first season with Montreal at the age of 19, 20, 21, and then started off his age 22. So that was his 4th NHL season, and put up, in total, he put up 40 points in a whole season, basically. Yeah. After that, again, never saw the same production. Played 11 games in 2010. In 2011, he played just 16 games and never saw the same production whatsoever. But a name that all says it all. It's Guillaume Latendresse for the Minnesota Wild, a guy that definitely in his short time made an impact. Unfortunately, in 2010, 2009, 2010, Wild weren't exactly very good. So they didn't make the playoffs that year. But still, in that time, everybody was all in on Guillaume mania, man. Yeah. It was crazy.
I remember.
I remember going the next year to the XL Energy Center when they had that big hockey rink sale or whatever. And you know what? There happened to be some Guillaume T-shirts for sale. My brother got one. I have the remnants of it. I think we're turning it into a T-shirt quilt now. Jimbo has still got a Guillaume Latendresse jersey that's somewhere the back of the closet, all number 48. So after that 2011-2012 season comes through, only 16 games. He ends up going to Ottawa. Ends up playing 27 games for the Senators. They end up making the playoffs that year, but had some little spark of play overall, but only ended up 27 games, 10 points, 52 shots in total I was looking at the wrong stat actually, was, only ended up putting up, a handful of points in that game. Kind of an afterthought at that point, well past, unfortunately, the prime of his career. Ends up going internationally. He ends up trying to play for the Senator. He played for the Senators in 2012, 2013. Then tried to, play more internationally. Played over in Switzerland for a season in the Swiss National League there with the Lions and there. But played just 12 games at 6 points again. Just couldn't stay very healthy, and was even as a healthy scratch too, unfortunately, towards the last couple seasons of his career. Did try to make a bit of a comeback, an unsuccessful tryout for the Phoenix Coyotes, but that didn't work out. And in 2014, did announce his retirement out of professional hockey. Is now a coach for a traveling hockey team out of Quebec, in his native Quebec, for the midget AAA level right now. A little travel hockey for them as well. That was the last known whereabouts for Guillaume Latendresse. But again, in his short time in the NHL, playing at the age of 19, one of those guys that definitely could not miss early on in his career, never really got a full head of steam once he got past playing for Minnesota. Kind of the exact opposite of what usually happens when a player leaves Minnesota. You get really good in Minnesota, then you leave, greater things happen as well. But unfortunately, just never worked out for Guillaume Latendresse. And again, that's always a name that pops up in my mind when we start talking about stuff like this, because, I mean, the name says it all. And, that's one of the first things that I kind of remember when I started watching the Wild again, was him and just how everybody got swept up in his play for the Wild, and he's contributing on that team. Yeah,
I mean, Latendresse, I remember very briefly, but I just remember people were always talking about him, like you were talking about, Voldy. I mean, it's a great name, by the way, too. I mean, Latendresse. I love it. But I think that's a guy that definitely deserves to, be on this segment and be on this list. Looks like he's coaching still, so that's good. And obviously, being from playing for the Wild, hey, even better, right? So before I go to mine, Easy A said Richard Seymour. Richard Seymour. That's another good name. I think Patriots, and then I think he went to the Raiders after.
To the Raiders, had a cup of tea somewhere else, I think, before getting cut or something like that. I think he might be up for the Hall of Fame. Might be already. I think
he was eligible. Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely eligible. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think he's eligible. But now, let's get to mine. And this one, I feel like this one, I felt like we could have done a lot with this person, but when we got the guy, I just don't think whatever we were trying to do fit the scheme, fit the type of player that he was. And not only that, but maybe it was just signs of slowing down too. But my where are they now this week is Mike Wallace.
Whoa.
He had one season in Minnesota. I'll give you the stats, and then I'll give you the Vikings stats, and then I'm gonna go back to when he was with the Steelers, Miami, Baltimore, and then I think he did sign with Philly, but a lot of injuries with him.
Yep.
But when he was with Minnesota, he was only targeted 72 times, 39 receptions, only 2 touchdowns, 473 yards.
Yikes.
Not great. And I am not saying, and I don't want to bash him, because you have Teddy kind of starting to, I think, second year, I believe. This was his second year, and this is when they went to the playoffs. Not only that, but it was the emergence of Stephon Diggs. It was, and I think Thielen was starting to come into his own a little bit too. And then Cordero was on that team. Voldy we're talking about. Charles Johnson, I think, had some action as well.
Oy.
But I just think the scheme just didn't fit. And I think what the Vikings were trying to do was give Teddy that type of target to go down. I feel like Mike Wallace was kind of a deep ball guy. And I think that's what was lacking. And Teddy with the deep ball wasn't great, but he could make some throws. It's just there was a lot going on with the wide receiver core. Now, we all thought when the Vikings traded for Wallace, oh, this is great. Now we have Teddy's got a guy that he can throw to and everything like that. But it just didn't work. That's kind of the main thing. It didn't work, and I believe when he was traded, Zim had those famous words of we were paying him all this money and he didn't do anything. And I believe he didn't want to play. I believe Mike Wallace didn't want to play in cold weather either, and this was at TCF, right? Because he was a free agent after he was with the Steelers. And it was either between Miami and Minnesota. And he's like, I can't go to a cold weather place. This is ridiculous. Ends up getting traded to Minnesota, so maybe it was the goal. I don't know. So there's that. But he did have a pretty good career. I mean, he made one Pro Bowl, which isn't too bad with the Steelers. He had 3 1,000-yard seasons in 2010 with the Steelers. He had 10 touchdowns as well. And then in 2011, that's when he made the Pro Bowl, over 1,000 yards receiving there, 8 touchdowns. And then what's weird is after he left Minnesota, he goes to Baltimore, and he has his third 1,000-yard season. 1,017 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Voldy, we were kind of talking about this before the show, but he didn't score a lot of touchdowns. There really wasn't much with him, But
no.
He was a good deep ball guy. He made some plays, with the Steelers, and obviously he kind of had somewhat of a resurgence with Baltimore. But, I just think this was a guy that had a specific skill set, and it just didn't meet what the Vikings wanted to have in that offense. I believe Norv was the offensive coordinator, I think, at the time.
That he was.
So, and I think there was issues within that as well. But the weird thing is in 2018, Mike Wallace has a bad injury, and he's done. And in 2020, he actually retired, which is kind of surprising because, he's only 32, 33 years old, and you think that, okay, he's probably got some, more life left. You never know. But after 10 seasons, he pretty much called it a career. But he talked about after his retirement, he was saying that being with the Steelers was probably his favorite thing, and he didn't want to. I don't think he at the time wanted to leave Pittsburgh, but I think, where the money goes, that's where you got to go. And obviously the Dolphins, when he was with the Dolphins, I mean, he came close to 1,000-yard seasons, but, I mean, it just, they got Devontae Parker and, guys like that. They keep adding wide receivers that they think are going to go well. But then he goes to Minnesota, he plays a season, and then the Vikings release him and whatnot. But it looks like, right now he's enjoying retirement, and he's pretty much praising the Steelers. And I think he he's has a lot of respect for Tomlin and everything like that. So wish Mike Wallace well in retirement. But
absolutely,
I just think that with that one season, and I'll wrap this up, and then, Zoners, please chime in. Easy A thinks it's a good choice, so I like that. Let's go. And then he played in the cold in Pittsburgh, right? And I think he wanted to go to warm weather play. It was a whole thing. I mean, don't you remember that when he was like, it's too cold in Minnesota?
That was a weird time to be a Vikings fan. Because at TCF, it was TCF Bank Stadium. It's like it's 95 degrees for games 1, 2, and 3. Then by obviously the end of the season playoffs, you're just wondering if you're going to be able to feel your toes by the time you get out of the stadium to get back to the tailgating lot to warm up the car. But again, we'll be talking about that maybe here in the near future. We'll talk about that. Those old TCF Bank Stadium Vikings, RIP to the TCF Bank Stadium. I mean, I'm just, look, I like how we both went with kind of one-hit wonders with Minnesota sports that are just like, I completely forgot he played for us for a hot second.
Yeah.
Like when Terrell Owens went to Cincinnati, it's just like, oh yeah, that's a thing. And apparently with that too. But Mike, I remember that whole thing too. It's just like, but you played in Pittsburgh for 3 years.
Right.
You had your best seasons with Pittsburgh,
exactly.
and that's how you started your career. And I still don't understand why that was such a big thing. Yes, then you went to Miami, and then you wanted to go somewhere warmer, and then obviously you put up another 1,000-yard season 2016 with the elite quarterback, that being Joe Flacco, now elite garbage that he is too. I think it just with Mike Wallace, it was just one of those situations where, hey, this will be a good fit. It's just like, maybe some things don't exactly always see on the same page, but if he ends up playing a full season, his numbers definitely look better, and definitely was more of a definitely more of a a guy to kind of move the chains a little bit. Mike Wallace obviously was a pretty good deep threat too, but not a guy that's going to go out there and score a lot of touchdowns in his career. It was, definitely more of a, I don't know the word I'm looking for. He was more of a receiving receiver, just like, whatever yards I can get out of it on as many catches as possible. Probably one of those type of guys.
Oh, exactly. And I think, with Wallace, maybe it was a fluke, or with everything, with the cold. And I mean, he played in one of the most coldest games, in playoff game history now. So let's not forget that with Mike Wallace. So if you're complaining about cold, well, there's that too, because he was in the playoffs in 2010 with Pittsburgh in 2011. He had a pretty good game. I mean, he had 13 receptions in 2010, 115 yards and a touchdown. In the 2015 game, Voldy, for the Vikings, you want to guess what his stats were for that?
Not good.
1 reception, 10 yards.
Not good.
That was against the Legion of Boom too. So let's, I mean, there's that. But at the same time, it was a cold day too. So very, very cold. But anyway, we got some more from the Zoners here, and then we'll move on to ARA. But the man, the myth, the legend, Boof Bonzer.
Oof.
That's another guy, I think.
God, who does love Boof Bonzer?
Yeah.
Boof Bonzer is a man.
The best name. One of the best names you'll ever
Former
see.
Red Sox, too, Boof Bonzer.
That's right. Santonio Holmes. Now that is a name, that Super Bowl catch that he had with the Steelers. Then he went to the Jets. He had a pretty good career with the Jets.
He put up some numbers there.
When the Sanchez was actually doing somewhat well, and then all of a sudden hit a cliff. But I think these are great names. Mets and Easy A. I think you got some good ideas for the next time we do this. But another fun segment, a new segment. This is the new segment that we were thinking of, and we'll do it again at some point too. And please feel free to send us requests of guys that you want to see us talk about, or if we'll come up. We've got plenty of guys that we're already thinking of right now. So it'll be a fun segment to do. So we're excited for it. But anyway, Voldy, I think it's time to get to ARA. There are some really good stories out that we need to address. So let's get it going with some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it's time for absurd or approved. Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we take a look here at what things have happened in the world of the Olympics as well. It was, a pretty hot button issue in the last week plus that, unfortunately, one of America's top runners is not going to be able to perform in the Olympics coming up here later this month. Sha'Charri Richardson, unfortunately, during the U.S. Olympic trials this past a couple weeks ago, I should say, unfortunately tested positive for marijuana in the drug test that she did, provide during the U.S. Olympic trials that took place last month, during of which she did win the 100-meter run in 10.86 seconds. But unfortunately, that means the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency announced that they slapped her with a 1-month suspension and unfortunately would take her out of the running to compete in the Olympics as well, as she has been disqualified and she forfeits any medals, points, and prizes according to the USADA as well. This prompting a lot of backlash from the world of sport and the world beyond when it comes to the likes of, the use of marijuana for the purposes of, dealing with, whether it be post-traumatic stress, things of that sort, basically as an alternative to other medical substances as well, marijuana being used in the sense of for medicinal purposes as well when it comes to, anxiety, things of that sort as well. But again, it's a sense of unifying the fact that this has been something that's been talked about in a lot of regard, in a lot of sports too. Is it absurd or proof Sha'Charri Richardson did get disqualified from, of course, her run in the Olympic trials, but also the fact that the Olympics seems to be just a little bit behind when it comes to the new ways of, treatments, medical treatments as well.
Yeah, because I think a lot of things are changing, and I think you have to adapt to that change, because, and I'm not saying that, what she did was, it's like, oh, it's innocent, rules are rules. Well, I get that. But especially when she also lost a loved one, her biological mother. So, there's a lot of thoughts in your mind, and obviously going to a substance that, as of right in different, I should say, in different states it's legal and things like that. But at the same time, you got to think of the career and things like that. There's other ways to combat that, but she didn't. She's a 21-year-old woman too. So I mean, she's very young. Now, according to the USADA, the drug meets 2 of 3 criteria listed in the World Anti-Doping Agency for something to be added as to its prohibited list. It poses a health risk to athletes, which, it has the potential to enhance performance, and it violates the spirit of sport. Which, I mean, the spirit of sport, yeah. And then if someone's looking up to you is kind of what they're probably getting at here. But, and I think she handled it well. She was saying it's just 1 game. I'm 21, very young. I have plenty of games left in me to compete. And I have plenty of talent that backs me up. So, I think it's a little absurd just because it was very, I believe it was a very small, it wasn't very, she didn't come in completely high or something like that, but she did test positive for, marijuana. Now, it's tough when it comes to the Olympics. They'll come at you hard, and again, I think it's a little ridiculous, but I think there was a better way in doing this, because I think, I think they could have easily been a little bit more understanding especially of the situation, but just to kind of not have her in the Olympics and whatnot, not have her compete. I mean, is a little ridiculous to me because it's like, I mean, you could have done something else in place of that, but, you know, in this situation, you know, they're just going by what the rules say, but I don't know. I feel like they could have had a little wiggle room with it. So I think it's absurd that the USDA is just kind of getting all bent out of shape about it. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I still recognize the fact that, you know, this is something that's going to be talked over for, I think, years now because of the point that, you know, there's a lot of situations, especially when it comes to, especially everything that happened with Russia and the whole doping scandal that they had over there and, you know, led to them being kicked out of the Olympics altogether. But this is something that should be, you know, we get to this point, it's 2021, and we're still talking about how marijuana is still listed on numerous policies compared that it's, you know, obviously right now it currently states an illegal narcotic to the point where it's a performance enhancing substance as well. I still find that completely absurd because of the fact, like, look, would you have people getting high off, you know, marijuana, or would you rather have them getting high off opiates to the point where that's a whole pandemic altogether too, the epidemic, I should say, when it comes to opiates too, because there's just so many rabbit holes we could go into this whole situation. I feel bad for her, but she's taking it like a true champ because, you know, obviously she was hoping that it wouldn't come out this way, but knowing that the fact that it had come out this way, and there was still a chance she could have made the 4x100 team as well, but unfortunately, I think her name got dropped from that team as well for the 4x100, so she would have had a chance to run with that team, but I think Team USA decided to go a different direction with that. It's just unfortunate. I think the suspension is completely absurd, and you know what? This is something that may spearhead a whole operation to right the wrong in the grand scheme of everything for other runners for the future as well. And unfortunately, it has to fall on the shoulders of Sha'Charri Richardson. But you know, maybe this is another thing that will kind of jumpstart another discussion when it comes to something like this.
Yeah, and you know, this is probably like what her first like offense or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, we're probably going to get into a certain someone coming up here too. But if you're, you know, I don't know, you know, everyone's like, is weed good for you, baby? You know, all that stuff. Is it the gateway drug? I don't know. I mean, that's something that I think we all need to just, you know, I feel like people have done the research and everything like that, but I don't know. They'll find, I mean, there's some people that know how to, you know, get away with it too. So there's that.
Right.
But rules are rules. So there's that. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, in the wake of last week's decision to release the name, image, and likeness ruling that allows now college athletes to actively seek eligibility and, of course, opportunity as well to market themselves at the collegiate level so that way they can make money off their own likeness, name, and image, does conjure a couple of past offenses that could lead to righting some wrongs as well. That does include the likes of Reggie Bush in his 2005 Heisman Trophy. Obviously, the whole hoopla that was with Reggie Bush receiving, quote, improper benefits at the time of him in that 2005 season where he did win the Heisman Trophy as well. Ultimately was taken away from him a few years ago where he did receive money not only for himself, but also to keep his family as well in the state that allowed them to be in a livable situation. Now, there's been a lot of talk on social media, especially from those that may have been, you know, in certain situations as well related to Reggie Bush too, calling for his Heisman Trophy to be reinstated and given back to him as well. And not only as the likes of fellow athletes and those in the world of sports, even the Heisman Trust, the ones that, you know, help award the Heisman Trophy each year, say that could potentially reunite the 2005 trophy and reinstate it to Reggie Bush. Absurd or approved, the likelihood, the possibility of Reggie Bush getting back his Heisman Trophy.
Well, before I give an answer or anything like that, you know, those USC Trojans, that was damn good team back in the day.
Yep.
I remember that team very well. And obviously, Texas with Vince Young, Reggie Bush, Lindell White, Matt Leinart, and there's great teams. But
Lindell White.
Lindell White, that's a name, isn't it?
Dude was a G.
He was. He played for the Titans
God,
too.
I loved Lindell White back in the day. Oh my God.
That's another.
Awesome.
That's another. Where are they now? Type of thing too.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at is Reggie Bush played for a certain team in the NFL. The thing is it's tough for me to say this, especially him being an ain't, but I think he deserves that Heisman back, and I'm going to tell you why. Is because, he took, at the time, this is something that you couldn't do, okay? You can't do that. But now that things have kind of been changed, and, things have been changing, then obviously the NIL and whatnot, but the NCAA, it's going to be tough for Reggie to get it back. The first thing that he has to do, and like it says too, is they have to reinstate first. They have to reinstate him first. Now, if he is, he deserves it. It's about the play on the field. The guy was a beast at USC, and not only that, when he got to the NFL, he was a Viking killer, man. He punt returns, kick returns, all that stuff. But one thing that we have to understand is that the guy was he was the best player that year. Okay, now just because that whole money situation, everything, it's not like he hurt anybody or anything like that. But I think we're past the point of the NCAA saying, well, he can't do anything about it. We're sticking by our decision. We can't just keep giving stuff back. Even if they don't give it back to him, we know who won the 2005 Heisman Trophy. Years from now, you probably forget. But, obviously, Reggie Bush, you think USC Trojans. And then, obviously, him winning the Heisman, even if it's not official. So I think him trying to get it back, I believe in the article it's talking about hey, I want to talk with the NCAA and see if we can work something out here, but they haven't been returning calls. Surprise. So
yeah, shockingly.
I think it's got my stamp of approval with Reggie trying to get what is rightfully his. So I don't blame him for that, but stamp of approval for me. Voldy, what do you think?
Everybody was getting paid in college, especially for the good players. Unfortunately, Reggie Bush was the one that got caught, and he had to lose his scholarship as well. And unfortunately, USC had a 2-year postseason ban in the midst of the Ed Orgeron-led USC Trojans. Forget that time as well. What a fun time that was for college football. 14 vacated victories, including the 2004 BCS National Championship under the likes of Pete Carroll as well back in those days, 30 scholarships, and they had to separate as well. Reggie Bush and the Trojans couldn't be associated with each other for 10 years, which did end last year, literally in June of 2020. But from what I've heard, USC and also Reggie Bush have been in talks. They're slowly getting reintegrated back to each other once again, and you know what? They're moving in the right direction. I think they should give him back his Heisman Trophy because that's just, if you're really going to fully back the likes of this whole name, image, and likeness thing for college athletes, this is where it's got to start. I think I saw the message in the comment from Metzler too.
Yeah, here.
You gotta reinstate the Fab Five, banners as well for those two Final Fours because that's another one in the right direction too. Those guys were getting paid. That was in the 90s too when that happened. You can go all the way back in the day. Guys were getting, weighted hand over foot before they even got into college too.
Right.
To even go to a certain school. And again, it's just one of those that Reggie Bush just got caught and had to get his stuff taken away. I think it's definitely definitely has got my stamp of approval for sure that Reggie Bush should definitely get his Heisman Trophy back.
I just think it makes the most sense. I think you let bygones be bygones and just be like, you know what? Whatever. Easy A says, I'm all for college players getting paid, but what about the kids that aren't college players? It's another thing to think about, too. I mean, but it's one of those things where these kids could get greedy, too. So there's always that, but, I mean, everyone's getting paid somehow. They're by some way, and I mean Johnny Football. I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, don't you think that he tried to get a little cash with that? I mean,
oh yeah,
that's just me. But all right, next one, Voldy.
Quick shout out to if any college athletes following us here on the live stream. Definitely want to hit us up for any sponsorships. Let us know. We'll see if we can make something happen for sure. But speaking of reinstatement, well, it was reported that earlier this past week that veteran wide receiver, friend of the brand, top 10 and famous stalwart, Josh Boozhound Gordon has submitted his reinstatement letter to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. Hopes to be with the team in time for training camp coming up here at the end of the month. And, of course, the NFL has been, doing its part as well, keeping tabs on old Josh Gordon by drug testing him over the past 3 months to make sure that he's passed all his tests. So if he wants to get back in the NFL, well, he's definitely going to have to keep the cleanest of all noses. He wasn't suspended indefinitely back in December of 2019. Did come back to practice with the Seahawks at the end of 2020 as well in December, but you know what? In the final 2 weeks, didn't ultimately make a big difference for the Seahawks in that regard as well. Is it absurd or approved Josh Gordon potentially getting back in the NFL? I mean, applying for reinstatement, and if he does get reinstated, where would he end up?
I gotta play this soundbite made famously, by you, Voldy, and I think we usually start off the show when the countdown gets to 9 and whatnot, but here we go.
He had his chance and he blew it.
He's had many chances. Too many chances with Josh Gordon. Now, how many times does he have to go through this process, then all of a sudden, now I gotta come back out because I'm getting that. I just get sick and tired of looking at all these stories of Josh Boozhound Gordon, as we called him on the Sports Zone and now MinneZona Sports Live. I think it's absurd. And you know what I also think with Josh Gordon too, and I understand smoking weed is something that is a struggle for him, and using taking drugs and obviously alcohol and everything like that. Now he played in the fan-controlled league. We've talked about this before, so there's that for the Zappers or whatever, and he was teammates with John Manziel, whatever the hell you want to call him now. But he's saying that he has a good support system with his family, good friends, including Manziel, who said he gave him motivation and showed him how important these small details in life are. Really? Interesting.
Garbage.
This
garbage.
This is absurd. This is absolutely absurd. Now, let's just say that he does. Okay, I'll give it this. If he does get back in, what team would he play for? Obviously, it seems like Seattle kind of had a thing for him, wanting to bring him back and whatnot. But what team is going to give him that chance right now? I mean, there could be. I could see San Fran maybe adding another weapon as well with Gordon, but I don't know. I I certainly, to be honest, I don't want him near the state of Minnesota because I'll go nuts if that's the case. But I think San Fran's a place that he could definitely, play for. He could play for. I'm not saying that he's an absolute bum, but he's, he doesn't have like a lot of talent as a football player, I should say. I think the off the field stuff and all these, and then he sold a Super Bowl ring, I believe, right?
Yeah.
From that whole spiel. So it's absurd. I think he's had plenty of chances. There are guys that work their ass off to try and make a team, undrafted guys and everything like that. But then you let a guy who's who keeps getting suspended for stupid stuff. I think it's absurd, and he's had plenty of chances. If he gets reinstated again, then it just shows you, well, it makes for a good story. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I don't know, man. It's just like, stop it. Just find something. I like the one of the other quotes that's in here as well, talking about how there's no quit in me with Josh Gordon. Well, there better be quit in you. Quit messing up and quit screwing around with all this and quit the hard stuff. Because, like, are we going on like 7 or 8 chances now he's had to be in this league as well? And again, I was out of it completely. I was kind of on his side for a while, and then he ended up pawning a Super Bowl ring. Like, come on, man. Like, really? You get the golden goose, you get the golden egg that guys will literally chop off arms and limbs and other bodily parts we learned from Mike Vrabel a couple of years ago as well, talking about how they would do to even get in the same realm of a Super Bowl and also a Super Bowl ring. And he just ends up selling it for, cash or something like that, pawning it or whatever. Kudos to the guy who ends up having that Super Bowl ring too. I mean, that's certainly going to be quite the conversation. I think it's just completely absurd. Just knock it off. You should have just go out on the golf course, hang out with Johnny for a little bit, and see the other side of the light as well. Hey, look, if he's still got the stamina to make it happen, good for him. Go to Canada or something. Go to the world, go to Europe or something. If there's, some leagues out there there's some football leagues out there. I'm sure he would run roughshod over some of those guys over there. Two-way player. Be something to watch as well. I think it's just completely absurd. We just need this to end overall.
Well, not only that, but it's getting to the point where it's ridiculous how many times that we have to go through this with him. And it's like, well, you should have a chance and X, Y, and Z. But we've given him chances. They've given him plenty of chances. And he keeps doing what he's doing. And I get it with addiction and everything like that. But here's something that I think needs to be brought up too. I mean, if you can't stop, obviously you don't want it to get out of control. But if you're complaining about a lot of this and why you shouldn't have been punished, then don't play. Like, just don't play, and because that's the rules. That's what the NFL has. And if you don't follow those rules, you're going to get suspended, or even worse, suspended for. Josh Gordon, you're still on the infamous list. Sorry. Yep. Sorry, not sorry. So we're gonna leave it at that with Josh Gordon. But Mets also said too. Sounds like an Urban Meyer guy. Sounds about right.
Definitely.
Sounds about right. So
Jacksonville, here we go. Oh, and my team that I was going to pick them for. I'd say Houston.
Houston.
Put them in Houston. They got no receivers down there. Maybe that'll make D. Watts a little bit happy down there.
If he even plays.
If he's still around.
Yeah, if he's still around, that's for certain. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, we go, stay in the NFL. Well, it was announced this past week as well that them boys, the Cowboys, will be featured for the third time on NFL Hard Knocks once again. The last 2 times becoming in 2002 and 2008. After finishing with a 6-10 record under Mike McCarthy's first year. And, of course, the unfortunate injury to Dak Prescott, the quarterback position. Well, the Dallas Cowboys will be featured this season, the 5-episode season of NFL Hard Knocks starting on August 10th. Absurd or approved, the Cowboys getting Hard Knocks for the third time.
It's absurd. because I feel like they like to favor these teams that, like I get the LA thing. Okay, sure. I mean, Tampa Bay, they did Tampa Bay with Infamous Jameis and all that fun stuff too. But it's just, why do we always have to, go to these mainstream teams usually? I mean, yeah, the Texans are kind of and then they had the Bengals for a little bit, or they had the Bengals twice, I believe. Yeah, they had them twice.
Yeah, Bengals.
So, there's that, but like, I don't know, and this is the 20th anniversary, apparently. But then again, I'm still going to watch it just because, totally. It's Hard Knocks, man. I love this stuff, I love getting in depth with everything and then seeing guys try and, make the teams and things like that. But it's going to be interesting, especially, I got to see, I've heard Mike McCarthy mic'd up a little bit, but also, Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Zeke, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, Micah Parsons, the guy that they just drafted in April's draft. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys that'll be, interesting, in this, but couldn't we have done somebody else? I feel like one of these years the Vikings will get that opportunity because it'd be awesome, man. Your own team on Hard Knocks, 5 episodes, I believe. That's what they have here. So,
yep.
But I mean, I'll still watch it, but I think it's absurd. I think they could have gone a different route with the team. And again, it's America's team, even though they haven't been America's team for a long time. So. But, of course, there's probably Jerry Jones putting some money down on how they're going to do this season. But, anyway, I think they could have picked a better team. So, I think it's absurd, but I'll still watch it. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I just want to see the day that Hard Knocks just picks this god-awful team to follow for, one preseason, just for the one training camp. I don't know. Who was horrible last year? I don't know, like Oakland, or I should say Vegas, the Raiders. You can do that. Get John Gruden even more mic'd up. Whoever. Oh, you could you could do the Jets again when they're god awful. Jacksonville. You can do like that. But it's the Cowboys. I think Jerry Jones being the ultimate influence on this as well. Yeah. Yes, there's a couple storylines that to be thrown in there. You could make up 5 or 6 different storylines for every single team to be a contender on Hard Knocks as well. I mean, I'd like to see the Vikings get featured on Hard Knocks, and that would actually bring to light a lot of things that a lot of Vikings fans already know. But, there's a lot of other teams out there I'd like to see be on Hard Knocks. And again, the fact that the Cowboys in 20 seasons have been on for 3 times compared to other teams, Baltimore, the likes of Houston, Miami,
they did.
like all those other teams we even mentioned too.
LA.
LA, the Chargers, and also the Rams as well this past year, even with COVID. I'd like to see a different team get featured. I'd like to see maybe Seattle, see how things are happening up there. Pete Carroll, all those personalities, Russell Wilson, certainly a couple of good sound bites in there. I respect the hell out of Russell Wilson.
Me too.
Because, yeah, exactly. He's one of those quarterbacks. You want him to see you to do well is the thing, but you don't want him to do too well against your team.
Yeah,
is the thing. I think it's absurd. Let's pick a different team, but you know what? There's always next season, hopefully.
Mets actually brings up a good point. Surprised that they didn't choose Green Bay because of the Rodgers situation. That would have been an interesting follow, and obviously get an insight on how bad they might be this season. So, no, just kidding. That's if he doesn't play and whatnot. But, yeah, I agree, Voldy. I think they could have gone with a different team, but then again, people are still going to watch it. I'll probably watch it, and, we just got the Vikings play them this season, so we gotta do some scouting and things like that. No, just kidding. But, I love Hard Knocks. Can't wait for it to come back. So, August 10th, I believe. So, let's get it going.
Yep.
All right, last one. Voldy.
Well, we're going to talk about the NBA Finals here really quick. Just a quick shooter, just because of the fact Game 1 happened last night. Suns go up 1-0 in the series, 118 to 105 last night over the Milwaukee Bucks. actually knew a couple people that were at the Bucks game last night, or at least were at the game 1 of the NBA Finals, especially. But Suns up 1-0 in the series. Who you got in the series?
Ooh, gosh, this is honestly, I'm fine with either team winning, to be honest with you. I just want them to have fun. No. The one thing that we know about both teams, I should say, is that, Giannis is a little banged up, obviously, with the long season, injuring his knee against, the Hawks, and he was having a great, season. But the guys that have stepped up, Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, I mean, they're a really good put-together team. But the Suns are, too. I mean, Book, you have Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. These guys are damn good, and they can score at will. Booker, like, there are people saying, like, the next Kobe, things like that. And let's see if the Wolves want to try and trade for him now. No, but it's a tough pick for me, but I think that this might be Milwaukee's year. I really do. I think it might be Milwaukee's year. I think with Giannis, and the team playing well. But I think this might go to 7. I really think this might go to 7 games. But I wouldn't surprise me if the Suns won. And honestly, I wouldn't be against seeing CP3 getting a ring, because the guy's been in the league for so long. He's been fighting to get to this point. He's had some just playoff disasters with LA Clippers when he was with them and things like that. But now he has an opportunity to win a ring, and I would love to see Chris Paul win a ring. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee, but just by a little bit. Just by a little bit. But if the Suns win, hey, all right, go Suns. If they win, congratulations. But I'm gonna go with Milwaukee. Voldy, who do you got?
I'm going with the Suns. Ooh. I don't know why it is. I just think that Devin Booker and Chris Paul, they're kind of locked in right now. I think CP, he's going to be the big X factor in this series, just because of the fact, he's hunting for that first ring after all the years. 16 years he's been in the league, which is even crazier to think about too, because he's been putting in a lot of time. He's had a lot of friends and a lot of ex-teammates go out there and win championships, and well, now it's looking to be his turn. I think Giannis and the crew in Milwaukee, hopefully they've got a few more years to be as strong as they can. But you know what? I'm going to say the Suns, and I'm going to say the Suns in 6 games as well in the NBA series.
Right. And I feel like Milwaukee has played well without Giannis. Obviously, you want him on the floor. But,
yeah, obviously.
Holiday's been fantastic. Lopez has been great defensively, too. So I feel like they're going to have a game. Obviously, with the first game, a lot can happen, in the next few here. But I think it's going to be a fun series. But, again, I'm sticking with Milwaukee. I'm going to go with the Bucks. I think the fear the deer type of thing. But if Phoenix wins, hey, claps all out to the Phoenix Suns. Heck of a season, especially if CP3 gets a ring. So that's what I got. Sure. That's what I got for it. So, all right, that'll do it for Absurd or Approved this week. It is time for some Shield shout-outs. Voldy, we got a couple good ones tonight, so let's get it going with some Shield shout-outs.
Shield shout-outs.
All right, Shield, who ya shouting out tonight?
Well, we got a much shorter list than we usually do each week because, well, I've been running around all crazy the last week and a half, so I barely have time, let alone to breathe, let alone come up with Shield shouts. But a couple of decent ones. Unfortunately, earlier this week, did learn the news of the fact that Columbus Blue Jackets goaltender Matisse Kivlenieks, a.k.a. Kivy, sadly passed away due to a fireworks-related incident on the 4th of July. Of course, another casualty due to fireworks on the 4th of July as well. And I hope everybody had a happy, safe, obviously, Canada Day, and also for the 4th of July as well. But unfortunately, a life was lost, and it was lost in the world of sports as well for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And always another safety reminder as well. Please be smart and be safe around fireworks, especially on the 4th of July. Yes. And the only other Shield shout-out I've got here this week, I had to do a little bit of digging, but a Shield shout-out goes out to Jessica Springsteen. Now, if the last name sounds familiar, you are probably connecting the dots, and you are correct. The daughter of the boss, Bruce Springsteen, will be a member of Team USA for the equestrian team coming up in the Tokyo Olympics coming up here in the next few weeks. Jessica Springsteen was named a member after being an alternate in 2012, but unfortunately did not qualify in 2016 in Rio as well for the U.S. equestrian team. So and that's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
There we go. That's what we got for the shout-outs this week. And, obviously, like you said with fireworks, I mean, that's, it's very sad. And obviously, JPP, that situation, he's, we're thankful that, he's still with us and everything. He only, and he's a Super Bowl champ. Well, two-time? Two-time now. But, be careful around fireworks. That's all we're saying. But, you know how we usually, do our, spiel with the,
all the stuff.
Yeah, with all the stuff. I'm going to change it up here. This is an interesting story. When I was at work last night, I got a Snapchat from my cousin, who also qualifies as my brother as well. And he sent me a snap and he said, "You'll never guess who he works at Jersey Mike's, my cousin Luke. He works at Jersey Mike's. You'll never guess who was at Jersey Mike's and at this West St. Paul location, which is literally like hop, skip, and a jump from my parents' house."
Right.
Does this ring any bells?
No. Get the
JJ. Justin Jefferson. He was serving Justin Jefferson at the Jersey Mike's, and I believe he was, doing workouts with. He was a hop, skip, and a jump away from my place. It's crazy. Awesome. Justin Jefferson, and he got a turkey sandwich, by the way. And I'm not sure. Obviously he was really nice and everything like that, and whatnot. But Justin Jefferson, yeah. He was at Jersey Mike's getting a sub because why the heck not? Turkey sub. So, JJ, if you're ever watching this, man, we know you go to Jersey Mike's, man. Hit us up. We'd love to have you on the show.
Free stuff coming your way.
Yeah.
Free and easy.
Speaking of which, we have stickers. People, we've got stickers. $2 for the small ones, $3 for the big ones. We can work it out with you. And whatnot, and also we've got shirts. We got shirts, $20, $5 shipping. Talk to me, talk to Voldy, talk to Curve Talk to Jimbo. We'll get you set up. We'll get you a shirt, depending on our inventory, I should say. And then obviously, thank you to National Fleet Graphics, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for getting us those stickers. Also, W2 Performance and the Barbell Nerds. I believe Will Rattel was collaborative on another podcast as well, so make sure you guys check that out. And obviously, he's got stickers too. The Barbell Nerds, $2 for these bad boys as well. We're on the same page with that, with stickers. So check out W2 Performance, Will Rattel, all his fun stuff. And also check out Jack O'Keefe's show, Jack's Junkyard, now with Apparel. He's back. He's killing it with season 2 and whatnot. So make sure you check out his stuff. And I believe he's got some TikTok stuff I've been noticing on the socials media. So check that out too on the TikToks. But also check out Breaking Into the League podcast. They're on a break right now, but we're in talks to doing a cross-platform show. So hey, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait to do it. So check them out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That whole shindig. So there we have it. That is MinneZona Sports Live episode 71 for you guys.
Boom.
We are not back next week, unfortunately. Matty C is out, but we will be back. We will be back. We'll have more fun. Maybe we have an interview. Maybe we have something else. Maybe we have a giveaway, for goodness sake. I mean, we got these stickers. We got to give out some more stickers, so we got plenty of them. So we'll get you set up with that. And thank you to all the zoners who have tuned in and been watching us and whatnot. We love all the support that you guys give us on a weekly basis, as we should say. So, but without further ado, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.